A very good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Early Edge. We are always brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. We got a great show for you today, a huge MLB lineup, and we got two of our best with respect to the MLB, and we got the PGA playoffs coming up, the FedEx Cup playoffs. It's going to be me and Taft talking about that, but let's talk about how we did yesterday. I got to say, Mackenzie has the plus 15.5. Connecticut Sun lose by 16. Lose by the hook there. We're 3-4. Certainly not a terrible day. The two SportsLine picks come through. Calvin's pick comes through, but it's still a losing day. We still lost you a little bit of money, and we got to improve on that. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got just the team to do it. All of you in the chat, buckle up because we got a lot to cover with MLB and PGA, and we're going to be answering your questions as well. We got Matt Snyder, we got Amags, we got Taft Gantt, and Matt, I got to start with you because Ben, Cubs fan, Sniper, Cubs fan, put in the chat a poll. Who is going to win the NL Central? We've got the Milwaukee Brewers suddenly with a 4-game lead. What's going on with your Cubs?
My emotions tell me that the Brewers are definitely going to win the division, but honestly, the analyst in me says they're now 44-16 in their last 60 games, and that's an outrageous pace, and there's no way they can keep playing this well. But I keep saying that, and then every day we wake up, and the first thing I look at the score, the Brewers are up like 5-0 in the third inning or something ridiculous. So I think you have to ride the Brewers for now. The Cubs offense seems broken, and I will get to that later. But I did want to say happy Dennis Gentry days away from the NFL season.
29 days away from NFL season. Dennis Gentry, was he on that 85 Bears team as well?
I'm always going to go to that if I can. So, yeah, he was a receiver. Obviously didn't get used a ton, but kick returner as well.
Did Willie Gault play on that team? Or am I?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. He was the number one receiver. It was Willie Gault, Dennis McKinnon, and then Gentry was kind of like a slot back who returned kicks. Every once in a while got a running play.
Wow. By the way, inside 30 days away from NFL kickoff. And by the way, we did a college football futures preview with basically the entire Early Edge and SportsLine team. It's in your feed already. We went about an hour and we covered all the conference champions, the Natty, the Heisman, under the radar teams, win totals, all of it. We did it in less than an hour. So go check that out. Again, it's in your podcast feed and it's on the SportsLine YouTube channel. Hey, Mags, how you doing today?
Not too well. I see Devin Williams' name already in the chat there from Jeff Stenberg. Thank you for reminding me about my mortal number one enemy at the moment. He's been terrible. He's kind of almost single-handedly ruined the Yankee season here, unfortunately. So, yeah, not good. See,
we're just going to blame Devin Williams for the entire season.
Bad vibes all around from that guy, blowing leads all the time. It's all his fault.
All right. Jeff Stenberg is smiling from ear to ear. Taft, you must be smiling. You've been on so far twice, and I'm curious if there's still some lookalike stuff going on in the chat. I haven't had a chance to catch up, but either way, you've spiked some really good winners, including last time out. I mean, you had the Sam Stevens top 5 at plus 1,100. So, certainly that was like kind of a longer shot play, but you hit Tommy Fleetwood plus 275. How you feeling about the FedEx Cup playoffs?
Oh, Sia, good morning. Good morning to the chat, especially Joe. But I am fired up. The playoffs are here. Finally, we're going to get to see the top players in the world, the Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, kind of. That's a story for another time. But I'm fired up to see all the best back in action this week.
Absolutely. We had the early wedge yesterday at 7 o'clock. A bunch of bets there, but we're going to have a bunch of bets on this show as well and throughout the week. I think we should get started. I think we should get started with a lot of baseball from these two heavy hitters that we have here. We're going to do some golf, and then we're going to circle back to baseball, home run props, your questions, you name it. This show always has it. Sniper, all right, we started with the Cubs. And so at least for now, we're going to stick with the Cubs and the Brewers. You've got 2 picks here?
That's right. We're just going to ride the wave right now. That's where it's taking us. So we're going to start in Wrigley Field, and I'm going to go with the Cubs under 3.5 runs here. Look, Andrew Abbott on the mound for the Reds is having an outstanding year. 2.15 ERA on the year, 2.28 when you go on the road. He's left-handed. That's one of the big things right here. The Cubs have been absolutely throttled by left-handed starting pitchers for the last 6 to 8 weeks or so, especially ever since the All-Star break. Part of that is they've got some important lefties in the lineup like Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, Michael Busch. Busch won't even play against Andrew Abbott today, a lefty. Pete Crow Armstrong might also see a day off here, and those three have been awful anyway. The main guy that they leaned on against left-handed pitchers in the first half of the season was Seiya Suzuki, and he has been absolutely atrocious recently. The Cubs offense looks broken right now. I do think that they can turn it around. I just don't think it's going to come when the wind is blowing in from right field against a left-handed pitcher like Andrew Abbott. So I'm going to go with the Cubs to not score 3.5 or to be under 3.5 runs and not score 4 today in Wrigley. And it's plus money. Also, we're going to stick with plus money. We're going to stick in this division. If you can get the Brewers at plus money right now, why would you not take that? 44-16 since May 24th. That is a 119 win pace for over 2 months. That's ridiculous. They look like one of the best teams in the history of baseball right now, and it's not hyperbole. Again, they're playing at a 119 win pace for over 2 months. If somebody started the season this good, we would be talking about if they were the best team in baseball history. That's how good the Brewers have been since about Memorial Day. 22-7 since the start of July. Are you kidding me? Now, the reason it's plus money is because of the pitching matchup. Spencer Strider on the mound for the Braves, Jose Quintana on the mound for the Brewers. I'm not worried about that. The Braves are not a very good team right now. The Brewers are finding ways to win almost every single night, no matter what. So I'm going to go with the Brewers here on plus money, finding a way. Obviously, we're not going to worry about the first fives or anything like that because Snyder could throw up zeros for 5 innings, but the Brewers will find a way eventually in this game.
Yeah, the Brewers season to season always seem to find a way to be better than what they look like on paper prior to the season. A couple of shout outs in the chat. Richard Pierre says he put his like button hit in last night. I love when people come early and they're like, and I know not everybody can, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Some people are at work, they're thinking of other things, family, but to drop in here last night and to drop a like is super cool. So Richard Pierre, who I met at Yankee Stadium with Amags and a lot of the Early Edge crew, just such a great guy, but I appreciate you being in here and always supporting the show. Jeff Stenberg, Amags, you might want to go earmuffs here. He says, no anti-Yankees picks from me today. It used to be fun. Right now, it's just sad. Can't kick a guy when he's down. Credit to me for the sportsmanship. Amags, your response.
Yeah, big credit to Jeff for the sportsmanship here. That's something we want to make sure that we give him so that he can feel good about himself today. No, I appreciate that, though, because at this point, there really is no reason to kick us while we're down. So, glad that Jeff could realize that. I will say, though, I was thinking about him last night because at some point, just randomly, like blindly fading a team, it's funny, but like it's been really profitable against the Yankees during this run. So, I have to at least give him that. For the better part of 2 months now, it's been a very profitable venture to fade the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hitching your wagon to all teams playing the Yankees over the last couple of months, you're certainly making some money. Another team that's allegedly very good, but really hasn't played very well since the All-Star break, Amags. I mean, they won last night decisively, but it's the Dodgers. Talk to me about your play today.
Yeah, last night I went Dodgers first 5, and that did cash for us. And Max Muncy, 2 big home runs. Good to see him healthy and back. And I'm kind of just going to go back to the well here. I'm not going to overthink it. You get Shohei Ohtani on the mound. He did have a cramp last time. It was a muggy game. There was a lot going on. A cramp. He wasn't really himself. Gave up a couple of runs. I think he's better here today in this matinee rubber match for the Dodgers. And you're going to get Will Smith back in the lineup. No Will Smith last night. Still were able to cash the first 5. But, no Will Smith last night. So that gets him back in there today, most likely. And I just like the vibes right now. Mookie Betts broke an 0-for-22 slide. You had Shohei Ohtani hitting. Last night, 17 hits for the Dodgers, which when you look at the night before, I had mentioned in my write-up, it was only 3 hits. So that was a really, really low number for them, something we had not seen much at all this year from them. Just 3 hits in that loss a couple of nights ago. So the win last night, I think they get the win to win the series today. And I think it comes off of the back of, getting after Matthew Liberatore, that lefty that we know has been struggling, hasn't been able to get through 5 innings, giving up runs. So I think these Dodgers bats get to him early in the game today, first 5. Better than minus 140. I think there's some good value there.
All right. Dodgers first 5 minus a half run line. By the way, when I did the recap screen, I failed miserably in crediting Rob Johnson, our guest picker who donated to St. Jude. I listen, I forgot that he was even on the recap screen. It was just a momentary lapse on my part. So yeah, we went 3-4, but one of those picks which I believe, I don't know, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was plus money. He had the strikeout prop on Garrett Crochet, plus 105. So forgive me that it took me 10 minutes to get here in congratulating Rob Johnson, who did a great job, not just giving the pick, but just in general being on the show. Cash that Garrett Crochet, courtesy of Rob Johnson. Sorry it took me this long to acknowledge that, but really good stuff. Hey, Max, you got to love a guy coming onto the show, donating money to charity, but also hitting a strikeout prop at plus money. You got to love it.
That was great, man. And yesterday when we were looking at, ladder options and whatnot in the Discord, that was something that was mentioned that, going with Crochet up the ladder. So if you did that, I think, you had a nice night. And of course, if you followed Rob and his analysis there, it was very well done. It was very well put together, as you mentioned yesterday, Sia. So it was easy to digest. And I saw there was quite a few people that actually posted their slip in the Discord who had followed him and made some nice money last night. So good stuff there.
Shout out to Rob Johnson's cat as well, Aphrodite, one of 3 cats. And also, Rick Funcannon says Rob killed it. He's also a Commanders fan, so you got to love that about Rob Johnson as well. Ladies and gentlemen, more baseball to cover, including your questions, but BetMGM players will receive an MLB Parlay Boost token today. Just make an MLB parlay in the BetMGM app to trigger the boost. If your parlay hits, you get extra winnings. And check this announcement out. If you voted, and so many of you did, and thank you for that. If you voted for the Early Edge this past month for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, check your email, because 25% of those who voted can now vote again. You'll randomly be selected to vote again, because guess what? The Early Edge made it to the finals. Some of our competitors you see on the screen right there, the Kelseys, John Stewart, Scott Van Pelt. So if you get that email, you can vote for us again, or you need to vote for us again so that we can actually win this thing. Again, they are sending our voters emails to vote in the finals. So check your email. You might have gotten it yesterday, so check it out. If you didn't get it, maybe you'll get one today, tomorrow, next week, but you'll probably get it very soon if you haven't gotten already. And you can vote again for the Early Edge for the People's Choice Podcast Awards under the Best Male Hosted Podcast category. And again, a huge thank you for advancing us to this final round against some heavy hitters. Please check your email and vote for us again. All right, let's get to our SportsLine pick. Texas Rangers money line. We're going back to the Rangers money line. Bruce Marshall at plus 118. If memory serves, Amags, the Rangers are playing your Yankees?
Yes, they are. And I'm sorry, I was typing a hit run RBI prop in the chat. So check that one for the Dodgers game. But yes, they are playing the Yankees. You're going to get, plus 120 here almost on the money line. So
yeah,
I will say, if there's a game that the Yankees win, maybe it's this one behind Rodon, that lefty against this Texas lineup. But I don't have much at all in terms of confidence for the Yankees. And I even said yesterday in the Discord, maybe it's time to just bet Aaron Judge to strike out in every at bat, because he started looking terrible early in the game. He did make some contact late, but he has not looked healthy from his first game back so far.
I mean, that was Nathan Eovaldi has a 1.38 ERA right now, and Judge didn't do a rehab assignment. Like, what else did they expect?
I was a little bit surprised actually at some of Jack Leiter's strikeout numbers too, and I was looking at those going into today. I wouldn't mind betting Judge for some strikeouts here.
Jen M has a question, which we're actually going to get to at some point after the break. If you have a baseball question for either Snyper or Amags, put it in the chat just like Jen did. And we got to get to a break because Taft, we got to get to some golf. You got a few golf plays. I've got a golf play, a round 1 2-ball that I'm bringing over from the Early Wedge Best Bets show. We're going to cover all of that right after this message from our partners.
Critics agree Landman is a hit.
We roll the dice one last time.
Men die. Oil companies don't.
We're back on the Early Edge, and Taft, it's time for the playoffs, FedEx Cup playoffs. We start at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. You've got a few picks for us. You've got the floor.
Sia, we're going to start out with an outright winner this week, and this is more of a feel play than anything. Doesn't it just feel like Xander Schauffele is due to win a golf tournament in 2025? Coming off 2 major championships last year, he's been knocking on the door all year. And with Rory McIlroy opting out this week, Xander has the second lowest odds this week, but I still think it's good value at plus 1,800. He finished tied for second at TPC Southwind last year. And if Hideki Matsuyama didn't start out with a 5-stroke lead that final round, I think Xander would have been the winner of it with a bogey-free 63 that day. He's coming off back-to-back top 10s across the pond. Xander Schauffele is my pick to win the FedEx Championship.
All right, so let's go from outright to a top 10 and a top 20 pick.
Yeah, this is my safest bet of the week. Russell Henley plus 230, top 10. He has been a top 10 machine all year. He hasn't finished outside that mark since the PGA Championship. That was all the way back in May. He's got 9 total on the year, and his strengths lie exactly where they need to on this golf course, a shorter course with smaller greens. He has strengths in his approach shots and around the green. He's going to be able to get around this golf course well. I expect an easy top 10 for Russell Henley, maybe even sprinkle some outright winner for the Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, so in that top 10 market, I gave out 2 plays on the early wedge. And Henley was considered there. And actually, I dropped Henley in this crazy 6-leg finishing position parlay, which if you watch the early wedge, you can catch it. I'll tweet it out, put it in the SportsLine Discord in case you missed it. But it was between Henley, Hovland, who I think was plus 240 for a top 10, and Fleetwood, who I believe was plus 175 for a top 10. I went with Hovland and Fleetwood, but honestly, Henley was like on the doorstep. It could have been any of those 3. So I think any of those 3 could cash. If one of them cash, and 2 don't, you're still only down a little bit. But if 2 of those 3 cash, you're really making some money there. But we're on Russell Henley top 10. At least Taft is at plus 230. And then finally, a top 20 pick.
Corey Connors is the dark horse of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. He has been so good all year, 6 top 10s. The only issue that he's run into was he had a little wrist injury at the U.S. Open, but a T10 at the Open in his last tournament proves to me that he is back in good form. He finished top 10 2 of the last 4 years at this golf tournament, so he likes Memphis, and he's top 20 in the tour in approaches from 125 to 175, which is right in that sweet spot in terms of yardages. I think Connors top 20 is a great value play for this week.
All right. We like Corey Connors. We like Russell Henley. Again, check out the early wedge as well, because me, Jason Sobel, Patrick McDonald, and EC have plenty of picks there. I had a pick from there that I'm actually pulling over to this show, and I do want to get it out. Joe Neuenfeld says Taft still needs to tell us what he benches. Taft, I mean, I don't know. Are we ready for that? Because we got to find, again, that's correlated to how far you can drive the ball. Are you ready to give that out, or should we let the fans wait?
Let's let it rip. I mean, it's, as any golfer would say, you have your good days, you have your bad days. I think that a weightlifter would say the same. We're driving the ball around 250 to 275 right now. If we need to prove it, we can take it to the range or we can take it to the gym. I love the banter from Joe and the rest of the gang. Boys, keep it up. I appreciate you guys.
Nice.
That was such a good take. That delivery was so good. I was intimidated by that take. That was really good. All right, 275 on a above average-ish day is what I'm hearing from Taft. So he says he's going to prove it in the gym or he's going to prove it on the range. Either way, he's going to prove it. Joseph Aker says Joe Neuenfeld Taft benches top 10 outrights. Yeah, he certainly does. He's been great in that department. I'm going to give you a round 1-2 ball. I've actually been, I think I'm 13-3-1. I got to go back and check that. It's either 13-2-1, 13-3-1 over my last 17 early edge. That's just over the last 3 weeks on this show, my early edge play. So hopefully I didn't jinx it. Hopefully I hit this one too. I do want to give this out right now. I pulled it over from the early wedge last night, and I'm noticing that the numbers are different in places. So at DK, you can get a round 1-2 ball. Chris Kirk minus 125 over Tony Finau. Now, the reason I point out that number minus 125 is because on FanDuel, it's minus 140. And credit to BetMGM, who actually had this matchup out first. And they've had a lot of tournament matchups where FanDuel and DK haven't had the tournament matchups out like at all. And in some departments, they only have 3 ways, including ties and not real matchups. So BetMGM's been good in that department, but DK has the best number here of Chris Kirk minus 125 over Tony Finau. I'd hate for people to see this number at minus 140 or minus 145, because at that point, I think it's like a little too pricey. It's not like Tony Finau is that bad, but he has been pretty bad in the ball striking department. He's been pretty good with the putter, but Chris Kirk has been, I don't want to say very good, but he's been very consistently above average for a handful of tournaments in a row. You know, I had him last week in the outright department. He was first-round leader here last year, and he's one of my 4 first-round leaders for tomorrow as well. He's kind of a much very much a long shot first-round leader in this 69-person field. But either way, I like Chris Kirk minus 125 over Tony Finau. Like the ball striking, like where the short game is at, like his history here for the most part. Really only like his history in the first couple of rounds. He tends to fade, but Tony Finau has been a fade this entire year, so I don't mind fading him again. Give me Chris Kirk in the first round over Tony Finau. Try to grab that good number. Minus 125, maybe minus 135 is appropriate. I wouldn't pay minus 145 for this number. Let's get to some home run plays, and then we'll get to some baseball. And if there's golf questions, we can answer those. I do want to remind everybody, our live chat is today at 4 o'clock on this SportsLine YouTube channel for the FedEx St. Jude. It'll be me, Mike McLaurin, Josh answering questions. We got Nick Kurtz, plus 180, says the SportsLine model and inside the lines, but the real odds, plus 333. Tyler Soderstrom, plus 300 versus plus 575. Tremendous value there. And Bobby Witt Jr., plus 370 versus plus 420. Sniper, I'm going to start with you. Any of these three jumping out to you? And is there any other name you want to throw in here?
Well, I love Kurtz. I know it's on the road, and I usually like to ride the A's when they're at home, but good conditions for home runs in Nationals Park, and Cavalli on the mound for the Nationals, a newbie. So I like Kurtz there a lot, but man, it's plus 180 on the SportsLine model. Wow. Got to ride Kurtz there. Got to.
Yeah, 33 is my lucky number, so 333 sings to me, if that means anything to anybody, which for the record it shouldn't. Amags, do you like any of these three, and is there anybody else that you like?
I do agree with Sniper. I like the Nick Kurtz, those two lefties against Cavalli, on the A's there. Those are some pretty good looks, although that plus 575 is pretty interesting to me. I think I'd probably play a little bit on both of them. The one for Bobby Witt, I was just trying to look for the weather here in KC to see if it would be. Let me see. Hold on.
It's in Fenway.
Oh, it's in Fenway, actually. All right. So then actually, that'd be
against
fine.
Dustin May.
The weather here you're looking at is a little bit advantageous. Unless this is giving yesterday's numbers.
I like that one too, actually, against Dustin May making his Red Sox debut in Fenway. He's been hit all year.
Okay. We have a couple of money line plays that people, Ninja and Chris Floyd, want to ask you too about, but I do want to give a shout out to Jesus Hernandez, the late father of Ricardo Hernandez. Ricardo says, good morning, guys. So I've already said a couple shows ago, my father is no longer with us, but today is his birthday. Can I get a birthday shout out to Jesus Hernandez? Thanks, guys. Let's cash for my dad. First of all, apologies that I missed that comment a couple days ago, but I guess it's somewhat fitting that I caught it on your father's birthday. So big shout out to Jesus Hernandez, Ricardo. Sorry for your loss, and I appreciate you joining the show, if not just for the bets, but also maybe we're putting some smiles on some faces. And so we appreciate you being a part of this experience. Amags, go ahead.
Well, first off, Ricardo, I appreciate everyone that comes in and says something like that. There's always, I think, someone that has like a personal connection or a story or something that they want to share. They feel that they can share with us in this environment. So really appreciate that and appreciate everyone coming here to the show. And I did want to at least mention, so I had it flipped for the Boston game. It looks like it's actually a little bit for the pitchers here of an advantage today. So I think I'd stick with the Nick Kurtz or the Soderstrom ones there on the model.
Okay. Chris Kish says this chat is legitimately a nice place. I mean, listen, Amags, you really captured that better than I could have. But I do think this isn't just, and again, I'm only going to spend 20 seconds on this because I know people want to get to picks and all that. But I also think this is a place where we can have some laughs and we can acknowledge some people who have maybe suffered a loss or maybe having a bad day, and they can come in here and whether they're taking a bet or not, we can put a smile on their face, or they can just kind of be in a good mood watching this show. That is part of the design of the Early Edge. And hopefully you all feel that the same way that Matt and Taft and Amags and everybody from this crew feels that. Let's go to a couple of other picks before we get to the recap screen. Ninja wants to know Pirates money line. It's plus 125. It's actually bordering on plus 130 in some places. Robbie Ray on the mound, Sniper versus Heaney. Your thoughts on this one?
I was kind of wanting to lean toward the Giants on this one, but they're just unreliable right now. But it's hard for me to rely on the Pirates even at that plus money. So I kind of feels like a stay away to me. It's hard to bet against Robbie Ray. And again, you're talking about the Pirates. So not for me. I wrote a couple more down from the chat. There were a couple questions earlier about the Blue Jays in Colorado on the money line, which is, or on the run line, which is minus 150. That's tough for a run line, but it's against Kyle Freeland. It's in Coors Field. It seems like the Blue Jays, who were struggling for a quick second, got their mojo back being in Coors. I actually looked at, somebody else asked about over 6.5 for the team total on the Blue Jays, which is such a high number. But that would have been my third play today, is Blue Jays over 6.5 team total. I think the Blue Jays are going to throttle the Rockies again. So I would be okay with either one of those plays. Also, do you have something on that game, Amags?
I was just going to say, so remember, for a lot of these Wednesday games being, the final game of the series, like Alejandro Kirk is going to sit in that game because he played last night. So the day game there, he'll likely sit. It's projected. So just make sure you check on stuff like that too, if you're betting team totals or whatnot, just because a lot of these lineups are a little bit different variations.
Yeah. There was an Orioles Phillies under 8 question. I kind of like that, actually. Like, Trevor Rogers has been so good since the Orioles brought him back up this year. Ranger Suarez on the mound against an Orioles offense that can be susceptible to getting shut down by left-handed pitching. So I think I like that one. And then somebody also asked Trevor Rogers over 5.5 strikeouts. Amags, and that one feels tough for me. That one's close.
I think I like the plus money for him to complete 6 innings more than I like the strikeouts there. But he's been solid. I have to say, I've been running him out there in my fantasy team. He's been really solid. A question that Jen had that was on Rogers and this, the plate appearance strikeouts. We've been doing a lot of this stuff. I like both of those. Schwarber and Henderson profile as some of the better matchups for these left-handed pitchers to strike out. And if you look at Schwarber, he's got 4 strikeouts and 16 plate appearances against Rogers. I know Rogers is a little bit of a different pitcher now. And then Henderson, 2 strikeouts and just 3 plate appearances against Ranger Suarez. So better than plus 200 odds on each of those first plate appearance strikeouts. I like those, Jen.
And you've been doing that in the SportsLine Discord. I know Jen's been a big part of that as well in this whole SportsLine Discord community. So again, the early edge is just such a small microcosm of all the picks you can get. Obviously on SportsLine, we've got all the official picks on there, but in the SportsLine Discord, I guess, I don't know, you call them unofficial. I don't know what you call them. Some official picks are in there, but some it's just conversation. And Amags is stepping in there being like, I'm betting some strikeout props and some plate appearance stuff. And
I could take that last one too. That was just that Ben just put on the screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's Cubs, Reds. Horton walks. I could see him not walking anybody. I could see him only walking 1. So if anything, I might go on the under there. Abbott over 17.5. That means we want him to get to 18 pitching outs, which is 6 innings. Yes, I definitely think he's going to complete 6 innings against this Cubs offense the way it's been right now. I love the over on Abbott right there.
All right, Big Cheesy says the Giants money line plus Toronto money line plus Dodgers money line plus Seattle money line parlay plus 410. Geez, I thought you were going to stop after 2, and then I just kept reading.
That could hit, man. Yeah,
maybe that's like a round robin situation because one of those teams is going to lose. It's a
that first one there, San Fran, that's his team, and as you guys were mentioning earlier on that game, I actually do think San Fran has a solid shot in that game. They're 57-57 right now, right? Got back to 500 behind Logan Webb, so I think Cheesy, you might be in for a win today, a series win.
Steve Folkert says it's always that one loss. Yeah, anytime you're adding legs to a parlay, it's always like you added one too many. So meanwhile,
Puppy was always the one with the cat here, but Wicket just showed up. So
Wicket or Wicked?
Wicket, like the Star Wars Ewok Wicket with a T at the end. My son named him.
That's an amazing cat. That cat looks engaged, like it knows it's on camera. That was really good stuff.
He knew. Yeah, he knew.
He knew. Hey, Taft, before we get out of here, I don't know if there were any golf questions in the chat for either of us. Frankly, again, at 4 o'clock, we got the SportsLine YouTube show, The Early Wedge, where we're going to be answering literally any question that you have. But, and by the way, Rick, I don't like that Yeager over Hughes. I think both of those guys are train wrecks. If anything, I would take Yeager, but I'm out on that matchup in general. But Taft, when it comes to the FedEx Cup playoff or the Tour Championship, I do want to mention everybody, the odds are already out at most books in terms of who's going to actually win the Tour Championship, which is the final leg of the playoffs when we get down to 30 guys, which will be in a couple of weeks. If it's not Scotty Scheffler, Taft, forget about the odds for a second. If it's not Scotty Scheffler, do you think it's Xander that wins it, or is this so wide open without staggered scoring that it's almost like anybody's game that's showing up in the top 30?
Yeah, I actually placed my ticket last night for the Tour Championship with no staggered start. I think Scotty Scheffler is a very low number right now, so I was looking for some value. Let's go to the guy that's 4th in the standings. He's made 13 consecutive playoffs. He's been here before, and he's playing the best golf of his career. I said his name earlier. That's Russell Henley, 30-1 Tour Championship. I think he likes that golf course, and he's playing such good golf right now. I think that he just belongs in that elite club because of his consistent golf over the last few years. If you've seen Happy Gilmore too, the gold jacket, I can just see it right now.
Did you say
on the man?
Did you say it's 30-1?
30-1. I got it on FanDuel.
That's a pretty good number. Do you remember what Sam Burns' number is? I know he doesn't profile super great, but I just feel like he might get hot at the right time. He's probably in that 30 to 35-1 range. I don't hate Sam Burns, but I actually truly haven't really looked at that market yet. So just don't listen to Taft on this one. Don't listen to me quite yet. There was a question about top South American, which was actually one of Jason Sobel's play. Yes, Jason Sobel's plays yesterday on the early wedge. I can't remember who else. Nico Echeverria was the other guy, plus 180, but then there was another guy.
Johnny Vegas.
There we go.
That was my favorite play of the early wedge podcast last night. Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks.
Grillo's been a birdie machine the last few weeks. I think he'll be in the 20 to 30 range, and that'll be enough to get the job done there.
Yeah, and Nico, I mean, he did surprise some people. He was, second place going to the final round and then kind of collapsed. But I do think this is a pretty good play, a pretty good number on Grillo at plus 150. I had Grillo outright last week, so it'd be hard for me not to like him this week. Nico, pretty good on Bermuda. I think that's where his advantage lies, but I still think that's a good number, so it's a good look. Fleetwood top 10 plus 170, says Big Cheesy. Yeah, that's a play I gave out on the early wedge yesterday. Again, don't forget to catch the early wedge. And, of course, the early edge. Oh, my gosh, we've held you 31 minutes. That's what happens when we have 15 games of baseball and 2 baseball cappers, and we got the PGA FedEx Cup playoffs, and we got me and Taft on the show. Thank you, everybody, for being in here. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thanks for being a part of this experience. Here's my round 1 2-ball. Chris Kirk, minus 125 over Tony Finau. That's tomorrow, actually, afternoon. Grab that minus 125 if you can. Cubs under 3.5 runs at plus 110, says Matt Snyder. And he also says Brewers money line plus 118. Some sort of reverse jinx thing happening over here with the Snyper. Dodgers first 5 run line. That's first 5 minus a half, minus 137, says Amags. And I'm sure he'll have many more picks for you later today, including in the SportsLine Discord. And Taft, he says Xander Schauffele to win. Plus 1,800. Xander is due, which is true. Russ Henley, top 10, plus 230. And Corey Connors, top 20 at plus 120. How about some SportsLine picks? Again, big shout out to Rob Johnson, who smashed his SportsLine pick yesterday. Texas Rangers money line is what we're going with. Fading the Yankees. This is Bruce Marshall's pick. It's Jeff Stenberg's pick too, ladies and gentlemen. And we got some home runs. Nick Kurtz, Tyler Soderstrom, Bobby Witt Jr. are the SportsLine model inside the lines top MLB home run plays. What a great show. What a great cast. What a great crew watching the show and contributing to the show. Taft, thank you. Amags, thank you. Sniper, thank you. And Ben, just absolutely crushing it on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a great Wednesday. Let's cash some bets. Let's have a winning recap screen, but let's stay positive regardless. Ladies and gentlemen, we rest our case.